Hello. Welcome to our second stream in this 3-hour excellent exploration of digital fashion in virtual worlds. I'm absolutely delighted here today to be part of the announcement of the Banners We Wear competition. It's the first student competition associated with Metaverse Fashion Week. This is our third edition in 2025, the first student competition across the globe for students looking at how we use virtual wearables for self-expression and communication. We're going to dive a little bit more into what the Banners We Wear are and how this all came together. But first, we have an absolute stellar panel with us today who were part of the judging process for this competition. It's a 15,000 USD prize pool, with the 10,000 main prize going to the overall winner of the Banners We Wear, which will be announced live in just a few moments' time. So before we watch the live catwalk, before we see the winners take the central stage of Metaverse Fashion Week 2025, I would love to introduce the amazing people that are with us to be part of the announcement itself. We have Patty Huntington, we have Nathalie, we have Emma, we have Blake, we have Matthew, and we have Kim. So I would love for our panelists to just very quickly introduce themselves and their connection with fashion and digital fashion in general. Emma, would you be able to start us off?
Sure thing. Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm Emma Shapiro. I'm the editor-at-large of Don't Delete Art. We are a collaboration between human rights organizations, free expression groups, and artists and activists. And what we advocate for are artists in online spaces. We're an anti-censorship group. And so I was really excited to take part in this because this was a really fantastic opportunity to see how artists are engaging with specifically activist causes and visibility. And so, to be in the metaverse in Decentraland was a great opportunity for us.
I was so glad that you could be part of it, Emma. Blake, how about you?
Hi, everyone. Super excited to be here. I'm Blake Finucane. I have a podcast called Context. It's really about the intersection of crypto and culture, in particular art and fashion. I ran a NFT fund and a venture capital crypto fund. I actively collected in the fund digital fashion. I also personally collect digital fashion. So from a professional and personal standpoint, huge fan.
I'm so glad to have you here, Blake. And a call out to Blake's incredible podcast that went out last week about Metaverse Fashion Week.
Which Ray was just on. So yes, very excited and super happy to have her on.
And Patty, thank you so much for joining us from Australia.
My pleasure. Thanks. I'm Patty Huntington. Hello, everyone. I'm the Features and Fashion News Director at Harper's BAZAAR Australia and New Zealand, actually. It covers both countries. Look, we keep a very close eye on fashion's rapidly unfolding digital journey. Through first mover brands such as Balenciaga, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Tommy Hilfiger, and there's an Australian streetwear label called Injury, which has actually been very much at the forefront here, has done a number of hybrid shows at Australian Fashion Week. It bridged the metaverse, music, live motion, capture, VR, and they offer NFTs, for example, of their IRL garments, which is very exciting. I also do a regular fashion segment on television on Australia's national broadcaster, the ABC, and we've covered this subject. In fact, we dedicated an entire segment to the inaugural Metaverse Fashion Week in 2022.
It's amazing to have you with us, Patty. Nathalie?
So yes, hello everyone. My name is Nathalie Tessier. So I'm an educator. So I'm the program leader of fashion business at Istituto Marangoni, Miami. So we are also under the sun like you, Patty. We teach in Marangoni several things in the fashion business. I always put a lot of digital and a lot of new way to develop and to express fashion. I'm teaching also trend forecasting, and in my trend forecasting class, we talk about metaverse since already several semester, and was a great opportunity. Some of my students participate to the competition also, and and we work together with Matthew.
Matthew.
Hi, thank you very much for having me from very cold Boston, Massachusetts. I am a creative director for my own tiny agency called Thermal Brands, where I work with everyone within fashion to home hospitality, collaborations with boat companies, also tied to fashion, and even kitchen products and companies like Ninja. In those brands across category, not only do I design product, but also design overall experiences. So whether that's events for Art Basel or Formula One or Paris or New York Fashion Week, there's always a physical but shadowed digital component to each one of these experiences. And so whether we do a physical show in New York, visuals are sometimes generated through crowdsourced AI or artwork or through virtual murals. So I've always loved and enjoyed this intersection of art and fashion. And as Nathalie said, I'm a proud faculty member at Marangoni in Miami in luxury management and communication strategy.
It's fantastic to have you all here. Kim, would you like to say hello before we jump to the runway itself?
Hey everyone, I'm Kim. I'm the head of marketing and partnerships here at Decentraland. We are so excited for this event and to have you all participate. So thank you for joining. And anyone listening in, you could join us at mvfw.org and download to see this amazing runway we're about to run over to. Perfect. I'm going to bring
yes
back up.
So we're going to start streaming. So if you're joining us across the social networks right now, you'll see that we're streaming from InWorld. The best place to experience all this is obviously within Decentraland. So jump in. You can go to mvfw.org, Decentraland Fashion Week. This runway is going to be live in just 5 minutes' time. So what's going to happen is that we have models. Now, these are animated models. They are created to complement the fashions. These winning entries were selected by the jury from entries from around the world submitted via the Zealous platform. None of our jury members actually know which designs were that have won. I'm going to send them a pack just now to show them which were the designs selected. But for all of you watching right now across all of the networks and in world, this is the first time that these designs have debuted on the runway. How it will work is if you're one of the finalists watching right now, if you're one of the people that entered, the designs will debut on the catwalk in a specific order. We will see the third runner-up coming out of the catwalk first. We will then see the second runner-up. And finally, at the end of the catwalk show, we will see the 3 designs from the winning designer for the banners we wear. The 2 runners-up will each gain from the runner-up prizes of the prize pool, which is $2,500 USD per runner-up, and then our winning designer will gain the $10,000 USD main prize. I'm absolutely delighted to be able to show you these designs on the catwalk. We had an incredible cross-section of entries to the competition, and I would love, as we kind of count down to the designs debuting, just to hear a little bit about the hopes going into this competition of what you wanted to see from the entries. Maybe Blake, could I start with you?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I was really looking for ways to actually incorporate the medium itself, what you couldn't do IRL, to kind of incorporate that into a digital virtual fashion design. So really playing with how things fit, really playing with, materials, whether that's like fire or, anything that you couldn't actually wear. So really diving into what I would call the medium specificity of virtual fashion and pushing that envelope, really considering what you just couldn't do in person.
I think that's really, really, really interesting. That medium specificity. It's approaching late this side. Matthew, how about you? What were you looking for when you were looking through the designs themselves?
I mean, I really loved to see how the designer's story or how the text converted visually. I think, people write and they kind of try to capture in text what they are thinking or what's going through their head. But now actually having to program it in kind of a new medium outside of, fabrics and scissors and all that kind of stuff, I thought was really, really cool to see. So when someone said explosive or some design had, a variety of different adjective description, it was neat to see how it then got implemented, whether it was video game-esque, whether it was vintage animation-esque, or it was 2-bit, 4-bit kind of color grade. It was very, very cool to kind of see how the design story took hold in this medium.
Patty, similar things for you, or were you looking for something different?
Well, actually, I think, look, I've just obviously, like others, would have judged a lot of sort of student competitions and emerging designer competitions. And you're always looking for great storytelling. I mean, personally, I love color. It doesn't have to be color, but really strong design. And in this case, I mean, yes, of course, it's sort of metaverse first. But I mean, I think these, we designers need to have a 360-degree vision these days, and that's what the industry talks about. These things could be translated into real-life garments. So I was looking for, I mean, just excitement, really, exciting ideas and great storytelling, which is absolutely essential at the moment.
So I wanna jump in. We have our first design debuting on the catwalk right now. This is our third runner-up. This is by Jagdish, known as Juz. And Juz's design is looking at a futuristic yet timeless digital ensemble inspired by the Japanese philosophy of shibui, which balances tradition and innovation. So using pleated textures, deconstructed layers, and cyber streetwear aesthetics. And so that was the debut of Juz. And coming up now, we have our second runner-up. So we have the work by Svetla. Svetla Volker is a Ukraine designer whose collection is called Resistance. And Svetla has been looking at how this fashion can actually, quote, "The masks are off the naked kings, only the brave will give this world hope." And being based out of Ukraine, Svetla has actually lost her workshop and her home through the raids that are currently happening in Svetla's country. And this was a real very, very strong entry in terms of using these virtual designs to communicate something that is obviously very much in part of the conversation right now in the world. And finally, gosh, this is quick, we have the winning designs. So this is by Tulasi Palmer. And we have here Tulasi's designs, which are looking at talking about this migration from Kenya in the 1960s of her parents facing discrimination in the UK. They opened a retail store in the 1980s to purposefully empower women and kind of capture and investigate what it is to be British as a immigrant from Kenya in the 60s to the 80s. And really this inspired Tulasi's work in terms of her own path as a fashion designer. So gosh, looking at these fashion designs coming out on the catwalk, and absolute congratulations to Tulasi for these winning designs. We're going to repeat this catwalk. So if you missed it, you will see these designs coming out in order from Juz Jagdish to Svetla to Tulasi. And it's an absolute pleasure to see these designs made real as 3D wearables. You can see that the animations are complementing the designs themselves. And these are all as what we call 3D GLB files. So gosh, wow. If you did miss it, we should have a repeat coming on now. But this is incredibly exciting to see for the first time these designs emerge onto the catwalk. Kim, for you, as the first time seeing this from within Decentraland, your thoughts immediately on these?
So fun. I mean, one, I tried not to look. I know we had some tests, so I didn't watch any of our test streams because I wanted to kind of see it live with everyone. And such a range between the different designers and their very different stories. So I love seeing that. I also really like what the team kind of did with how the avatars were all animated differently based on the designs and bringing that to life in a way, like you say, Blake, like the medium specificity. Like you can't be flying on a real runway in the real world. So how do we bring that to life to show it from different perspectives? Seeing that one that came kind of like over your head is just really cool. And I'm really excited that all the students took part in this and brought their stories to life in a virtual world. Thank you to all the judges, because I know that was a hard job. I mean, there were really, really strong submissions in this. So I'm curious how you all feel now, knowing what everyone else and you all collectively judged on.
Who wants to start?
Nathalie, would you like to join in?
Yes, maybe. I mean, I think it's fantastic to see how they express their own story. I'm surprised that it's very, very dark for some of them, so no colors, or very dark. I was assuming, and it's true, like when I was judging the different competitor. I value more colors, especially for this kind of media. But it's interesting how they turn it. It's different. It's different and very interesting.
I think the team is giving us a little bit of time to talk now. So if you did miss the runway, we're going to be repeating this. So what's going to happen now is there's going to be a little bit of a pause between now and 9:30, and then the runway will repeat. So if you missed it the first time, we're going to be doing a little bit of commentary about the runway itself, and then it will be repeated. We're actually going to schedule as well. If you go to mvfw.org, you will see there are hours of repeats of this runway where we're going to be looping it continuously for the hour. But I think just to let us talk right now, we're pausing, and then we'll repeat from 9:30. So for you, Emma, as we saw these designs come out on the catwalk, was there anything there that surprised you?
Well, I had really enjoyed Telassie's work, so I'm really happy for Telassie and her win here. I was really inspired by so many of these submissions, and it was a really valuable and incredible process to be able to engage with this as somebody who is primarily an activist, and my focus being particularly on the activist prompt that the banners we wear competition had for these designers. I was so curious to see how they were going to establish themselves with fashion and activism in a space like this, when activism is so tied to currently like our physical environment and our physical identities, and how does that translate to like our digital identities? I mean, of course, my activism is about digital rights for artists, and so this is something that was very, very interesting to me, and it sparked tons of thoughts for me about like what it means to inhabit a digital body, and what kinds of activism or advocacy are we drawn to when we are existing in a physical space, and do we speak to some things that are more digital, or are we speaking to things that are more a part of our physical lives and representing them in a global digital space? So I think that what was very interesting for me about these, particularly these submissions that won, was like, yeah, how they were telling the story about where they're physically coming from, what their personal history is, and bringing it into a space that is being engaged with on a completely global and choice-driven space. So I'm not sure if that answers your question so much, but this is like things I was thinking about.
That's really interesting in terms of the history and the narratives woven into the designs.
Yes, absolutely. It's very inspiring. It's Decentraland and this proposition is such a great exemplary of how choice fits into this space, how we're choosing to dress our bodies in this space, and what that could say about ourselves, how that can translate to this environment and tell our story to other people, without being censored, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Patty, I would love to bring you in here as well. Sorry, you're on mute, Patty.
You can't hear me?
Now you can.
Oh, okay. Sorry, there were some amazing finalists, but look, really, the people who won are great. I mean, I love the second runner-up with the kind of Tron vibe, which is great because you've got Tron 3 coming up in October, and the trailer was just released. So I mean, we're sort of very much going into that world. I mean, obviously, and the Ukrainian. I mean, the resistance message there at this, ongoing extraordinary time. I mean, Russia invaded Ukraine in the middle of Fashion Month, which I mean, it was interesting, and the fashion industry's reaction to it was fascinating over those 4 weeks. I mean, everyone followed it very closely, but I mean, and what bravery! I mean, her studio being dismantled or losing her access to a studio, and look, amazing to see with the winner with the African message, because Africa Rising, there is so much potential in Africa. There's so much happening. And I mean, wonderful, and also wonderful personal, family history about the, the family and the tailoring and the art. So I think, I mean, really heartwarming results.
And for you, when you were looking at this competition, what were you expecting, and how does it match up to what you've just seen?
When I was looking at the finalists?
Oh, throughout the process, because I know this is a little bit different to a usual fashion competition.
Yeah. I mean, it is as it isn't. But I mean, I think, I mean, obviously the activism aspect was, I mean, we see quite a bit of activism in fashion, but I mean, in this case, it was, it was very much part of the entire thing. So, I mean, fantastic and wonderful to see. And look, I think this is your second one, you said. I mean, great to see it develop, more people sort of entering and realize that, the possibilities are endless and there is no barrier. There is no barrier, you can, whichever country you're in. I mean, obviously you need access to a computer and software, but I mean, there's no limits here, just your imagination.
Yeah, that's a big point.
And for you, Nathalie, how did anything surprise you in the process? Did anything shift for you in looking at the entries and seeing them come out on the runway itself?
No, I think it's interesting. I will come back to what said Patty, but I think the way they express themselves, and I think fashion is about a self-expression. So they are totally free to express their idea. It's very, I love the one with Ukraine because it's, I mean, fashion is also political message sometimes, and it could be also there is some barrier. And I have the feeling that people are very free in this media, and they don't feel any constraints. I love the idea also with Africa because digital is open and we have designer and creative all over the world. So thanks to digital today, we can discover new artists from a place we never explored before. So that's a beautiful thing.
And just bringing you in as well, Blake, anything surprising or kind of something that changed you during this process itself?
I mean, I think just to underscore, I mean, particularly, I know people have mentioned it, but who's on the screen right now, the Resistance collection, her studio literally got destroyed, and she was still able to create. And I think that just really underscores the power and the uniqueness of virtual fashion, and highlights that you don't need a big studio. You don't need the materials that you would for a typical fashion collection. So in terms of, I think, highlighting some of the very unique differentiators of this medium, she really speaks to that, and just how incredible that collection was and how politicized. It's super meaningful.
Absolutely. And when you were reviewing those entries yourself, like, was there anything there that particularly stood out for you, a theme or a motif that kind of resonated with you more than others?
I mean, I think leaning into your identity. I mean, again, I know that you very thoughtfully picked the theme banners we wear, speaking to identity and how malleable that is and how important fashion is in expressing someone's identity. So really just looking through all the entries and highlighting, someone's African background versus their Ukrainian background, just making sure and storytelling via identity. I think that was really what stood out. And I think it speaks to, again, the three winners.
Now, Nathalie, I know that you got to run. It's been extraordinary to have you here. Final thoughts from you in terms of the banners we wear as a whole.
What, you want me to tell something else?
Oh, no. If you...
But thank you so much for having me. And yes, great things. And it's something we need to dig more and I think there is also other different designer in the selection was difficult because there were a lot of very good talent and it was not easy. So my selection was not easy, by the way. I don't know for you guys, but my selection was not easy because there are a lot of very good talent. And it's really, it's really interesting and it's really joyous maybe because I can see that we have a lot of new talent coming and maybe a new era for fashion, for sure.
Thank you so much for being a part of it, Nathalie. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Matthew, to bring you in here, when you were looking at this and seeing them come out on the catwalk, what surprised you the most?
It was super cool. I keep watching him go around and around and around and around. I almost feel like I was at one point detached from the visual fashion aspect of it and more vested in the personal story. So I tried to be, I guess, objective in looking at that equally when I was judging. But now that I look at this, and I certainly second place and first place have amazing, incredible stories, but boy, I really love the fit on the third place Shibui. Like, I just love the white. I love the clean, like, skirt or whatever that is. It looks amazing. There's a Chanel-esque-ness to it. There's a Sakai-esque to it. So I actually think that, and I guess I don't know how much the Shibui Jagdish story is compared to the other two, but the fashion itself, I think, was super cool. So I think that's what's very unique and also very challenging about this is in this format, there's so much more editorial about the design story and the backstory of the designer, almost greater than the materials used, because in this particular case, the materials are just bits. It's not actually physical materials. So the representation of what the outfit is made of is less important than perhaps what went into building it or designing it or creating it. So I think it's super neat. It's a challenge. I'm not sure very many designers in the real world today could do that as intuitively as these three have presented today. So I think that's a very, very cool shift in kind of fashion presentation.
Can I jump in, babe, for a sec?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Matthew, this one that you were mentioning about the white lines, Dana, I don't know if you can hear us, but if you could switch it to dark mode by pressing F, it looks so beautiful with like the black surroundings because we can actually change the backgrounds into Decentraland. So when it restarts, I think she's changing it to dark mode. When you see that one come back through, the white like really pops and stands out. And I thought that was super, super cool. And then when you're in dark mode, that like neon stripe really just like hits you.
The Tron. It's very Tron.
Yes, very, very cool. I love it. It's very like virtual world-esque, which again, playing to the medium.
And Patty, I saw you nodding there about this kind of difference between story and this visual element as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously it's designed to be in this virtual world, but and very compelling. And I mean, you've got to remember we live in the real world, but we are immersed in in the digital world. We're all immersed in it on our phones, on our television screens. I mean, we consume more television, I think, probably than we've ever done before with these fantasy worlds. I mean, I don't know how many of you saw Severance, but just the ability of storytellers in all mediums. So I mean, amazing to see, and I agree about the first one, and like great streetwear, and it'd be amazing to see whether or not they're going to apply that to a sort of physical collection, because it probably actually would have quite a lot of commercial appeal. Dare I say it? Yeah.
And I should give a big shout out at this stage to the 3 design teams as well that created these designs from the 2D illustrations and formats. It's been a huge job for them, because obviously Decentraland is a low polygon environment. So thinking about how to translate incredibly detailed, emotive designs into these wearables within the limitations of the technology has been an amazing project for the design teams as well. So a huge thank you to the design team at Dapcraft, who did the first runner-up by Jagdish. We have Nikki Fuego, who did the 2 incredible designs by Svetla. And then we have David and his team at Metaskins, who took on Talassi's project and really Talassi was designed in fur. So really trying to take those textures and interpret them for a virtual world, while still respecting the DNA, the creation of these 3 designers. So a huge thank you to all 3 design teams. I know it's been an exciting project, but a technically quite challenging assignment to really respect what our 3 artists submitted in terms of their visions for these pieces. Taking this a little bit forward then, if we have designers watching right now, thinking that they've been inspired by seeing these designs emerge on the runway, thinking that they would like to start using virtual fashion as part of their creative portfolio, or maybe even diving into virtual fashion as something that they want to take forward. For you as creators, as educators, what would be your advice to someone starting out in virtual fashion today? Matthew, I wonder if I could start with you.
Boy, I mean, as someone who's judged a lot of these but have done none of these, I feel like there's so much to the storytelling that I've seen here that lies beyond the garment. So this kind of Ukrainian colorway, gassy halo behind is powerful. It's nothing you could do in the real world. The motion, the movements. You could never hover 6 feet off the ground on the runway in New York or Paris, but you can.
Not yet.
But you can here. Not yet, right? So using all of these, emotions, certainly the movements, all of that should be part of the script of the presentation, showing how the garments, flow, how they can be used, how they're animated, how they take on a life of their own, perhaps in different states. So just don't think, I guess, about the costume itself, but the body that's on the costume is on the motion that the body is taking with it. There's this little, I thought it was an IV bag, but maybe it's a balloon that's on Jagdish. You can see where my head is. So that's a very cool accessory of some sort that they've used. So even incorporating accessories is really, really, really neat. So I think, there is no limitation is kind of my answer. Is you're designing, make sure that all of the components of it can be on project or on brand for the presentation you're looking for. But you have so many more, dials and knobs and handles to pull in Decentraland and the metaverse to do things that get your position across than you would in the physical world.
And how much would you see those things as being part of fashion, as we're terming it right now?
I see a lot. I mean, we see, on the runway, people who are trying to cast different types of people, not just on the inclusivity model, but just casting people for aesthetic look, or casting all sorts of characters, bringing in babies. I was at Fashion Week last year in New York, and Kalina Strada's having strollers and babies on the runway. There's so many different things and different elements. So I do think it's, kind of part of fashion now is the environment you're creating with the presentation itself. And here you could create so much of an environment. You have these lighting switches. I can go light mode, dark mode, with the flick of a switch. So there's a lot that you can really, really work with, which I think is super, super creative. But also, it's a challenge. You have to make sure it all kind of fits in and it doesn't come across perhaps as too kitschy, and try to be as thematic as you can with it.
Blake, I'd love to bring you in from all of your Web3 experience, that kind of cultural perspective that you take through the Web3 narrative. For you, what would your advice be as someone watching this and thinking this is something they'd start like to get involved with?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely you want to, I would say this in the real world, you really want to know your customer, i.e. you really want to immerse yourself in Decentraland. You want to actually be in community with the people you're going to be designing for. In this case, right now, that's people using and engaged in the Web3 world, in crypto, who are fluent in that language. So I think it's really important for you to be fluent in that language, for you to play around with all the different things that crypto has to offer, and really understand what people are looking for and maybe what's missing. But I think you can't just spend, an hour kind of reading about it. You have to participate. So making that profile on Decentraland, talking to people, showing up to events, obviously, I'm very biased coming from the crypto lens, but I think the best people, whether that's artists, whether that's investors, whether that's, designers, they have to be really immersed in the community, to be authentic, to that community.
Patty, I see you nodding again. From a fashion perspective, how would you advise someone?
Totally about being immersed. And look, I would encourage them to embrace technology. I mean, I mentioned before that the 360-degree viewpoint, which is what the fashion industry is talking about. Everyone talking in magazines, in fashion. The luxury slowdown. Some people say it's the worst in 15 years. Some people say it's the worst in 40 years. And we are seeing at the top end of the industry this sort of, turnover of CEOs and creative directors. The biggest brands. Some brands have been immune to it completely, but the need to be great storytellers. I was reading something the other day about one particular designer, creative director that was let go from a brand, and they made a great point that they're a great designer, but they weren't a great storyteller. And you need to be able to do all of that. So, embrace technology. Look for collaborators too. You can be a great fashion designer, but you're not necessarily a great technologist. But there's lots of people out there with the tech skills, and collaborate. That's what's so important. And look, it's a really exciting moment. It's been exciting since the internet launched, but it is incredible if you think about the developments in AI since the first Metaverse Fashion Week. It's extraordinary, right? Every month or so there's some other development. So the fashion world's trying to capture that too, so tool up, collaborate, gather your skills, experiment, there's people also looking for talent to hire. So, you can not only build your own brand, but help someone else build theirs.
Now, I have this conversation quite a lot with community, because obviously as Decentraland's producer, I'm producing cultural events across art, music, and fashion. And we also talk about this thing about collaboration. And the question I get asked a lot about collaboration is, who do I collaborate with? That's the immediate, the immediate counter. But who? And for you, how would you answer that question for someone, a new creator in the field, saying, look, collaboration is really important? How would you point them in the right direction?
Well, there's many ways you could do it. Model agents are finding models on Instagram. You could just go to a platform, but you could use the algorithm. If you could use Google's AI. Now when you do a Google search for something, it used to be to bring up, a half dozen stories. Now it just has the AI snapshot, right? So great collaborator in this particular, of course, they don't need to be in your neighborhood. They could be anywhere in the world. And you will, so it's really about research, data mining, which has never been easier to do with the internet, and just tailor the search terms. Make it quite specific. Like when you're going into ChatGPT, you need to tell it what to give you, and then you will find someone. I was looking this morning, not for an NFT or anything, but I was just looking for people in a particular part of the world we do this series of insiders guides at Harper's BAZAAR, and it's really very easy because the Google's AI will just in seconds just scan the internet and scrape it and bring it up. So that's how, really. Research, just spend a bit of time and work out who you're looking for, what your ideal traits would be in a collaborator. And sometimes it's by chance. Yeah, sometimes it's like, how do you meet a partner? Like it's being out and about, as well. Go to events, go to meetups, be social, and then sooner or later you'll just bump into someone, possibly. So that's my suggestions, couple of suggestions.
And for Emma, they're bringing it back to activism and communication around these really important themes that have come out of the work, and also the work that you do with Don't Delete Art. If someone comes to you and says, I really want to get involved in this, how did you start, and how would you advise someone to start getting more engaged in activism in general?
Well, to use this particular form, like fashion in the metaverse in Decentraland, as mentioned before, is like a really interesting proposition. But what I would suggest to them is to really think about context and the ecosystem that you're in, right? You're online, and so much of our rights and threats to our rights are living online, more and more. Our privacy, access, our right to assembly, basically, and our free expression, these things are living online, and they're being threatened online, and finding free spaces where you can actually fully express yourself is constantly a challenge, honestly, for a lot of artists. And a proposition like this, to be able to create fashion, to explore identity on the body, which is something that in Don't Delete Art, a lot of what we are dealing with are artists who are trying to explore the body and definitions of the body and running into censorship walls. So being able to have that opportunity to explore the body with fashion is a really special opportunity. And so I would encourage and would love to see, really, designers engaging with what it means to be online. What is this environment you're in? Do you have to just respond to the physical reality you're facing? Why don't we take our online experience seriously as well when we're talking about activism and visual activism, right? You obviously love this space and you exist in this space and it's valuable to you. And how can we exhibit that even further by engaging with activist causes that exist online? And talking about who the future of these spaces belongs to, really.
Again, that sense of engaging with the community that you're within, and working out how that conversation can take part within that community itself.
Yeah, I think, Bae, when we look at this, you could tell there were Decentraland designers that helped on this, there are just some nuances that our community also understands and gets. And so it's really fun seeing, traditional fashion designer students collaborate with digital designers and what that can bring in terms of possibilities.
We're running out of time. Kim, I would love to talk even more about this and take it forward. I would love now to kind of bring us to a close, because we're about in just under 10 minutes time to jump to our opening party of Metaverse Fashion Week 2025. If you're just joining us, you have missed the banners we wear, runway announcements and awards. We had some incredible winners that came out live on the catwalk just a few moments ago. If you are interested in seeing the catwalk show and you're just joining us, head to mvfw.org, where you will see the whole program. There are repeats of these panels in time zones that maybe you can't access right now. I know for Juz, he's in India, it's 3 a.m. for him right now, so he wasn't able to join the awards itself. So we are repeating throughout the night for many of us, the day for others. So if you are able to join us at any point, you can see the full program on mvfw.org. So to bring this process to a close then, I'm getting a little bit emotional because this has been such a fantastic journey to come up with the concept of the banners we wear, to have so many people across the world engaged in entering, in designing, in thinking about these issues and how they can be communicated through virtual fashion in the wider context of Metaverse Fashion Week, which is all about infinite identities this year. I kind of want to talk about that in general with you all, identity and avatars. And we just came out of a fantastic panel about self-expression and self-perception through avatars. So I kind of would like a kind of future comment from you all. How do you see this progressing, this interplay between fashion, virtual worlds, and identity? I know that's a big question, but for you, from this perspective that we have right now in 2025, how do you see it playing out over the next 2 to 3 to 5 years? Matthew, I see you nodding. Do you want to jump in first?
Sure. I mean, I recently moved from Miami back to Boston, largely in part because I felt like my people are in Boston and New York. My people weren't in Miami. And that's really just a physical kind of observation. And what I really learned in kind of being part of this process is my people aren't now really defined by the geography. My people are designers in South Africa, designers in the Middle East, designers in Europe. And so the POV shared in all these design stories kind of prove that those are my people. And I love to be part of it. And having that physical barrier be removed thanks to the internet and thanks to Decentraland, that's another way yet for me to be involved in kind of a community of my people, which I greatly appreciate.
I love that so much, that connection across geographies in one virtual space.
Yeah, and Bay, we see that all the time in Decentraland. Like, we had an event this morning and I was like, I know he's in Japan, I know she's in Canada, I know this person's down in Argentina, and just that opportunity for people to learn from one another. We have another runway coming up later in this week that's wearables around the world that the community worked on for like fashion inspired by their culture, their heritage. And I think it's so cool that they're all learning from one another, bringing that into a part of their identity, and how we kind of see those geographical barriers completely melt away in this space.
Blake, for you, how do you see it playing out?
I mean, certainly I see this world with infinite opportunities, and I think there'll be more opportunities that we can't even see yet, and they're continuously being created. I think any designer that has a specialty or has a background in digital Web3 design, you're massively set apart on, you know, the job market in terms of communicating powerfully, you know, your skill set there. And I just think I see it all continually becoming more important. And you know, Bay, I know you and I have talked about this, but the definition and understanding of what virtual fashion, what digital fashion is, continuing to expand. So people understanding the way you present yourself on Twitter, on Instagram, on any decentralized social media platform, that all the way you fashion yourself virtually continues to become more important. I hope one of the things that we see, and I know we've talked about this too, and I can't believe we haven't already, is digital fashion influencers, young women who can change their clothes all the time and then resell them, and you don't need to go on the Real or Poshmark to do that. So that's also one of the things I'm excited about.
Emma, for you, I see you nodding. Where do you see this going, particularly in relationship to your own work?
Well, I'm excited to start engaging with more artists within the metaverse to make sure that, you know, we're all protecting artistic freedom in these new spaces, because wherever artists are, we need to protect their right to freedom of expression. And I don't see us in those spaces yet as advocates and activists so much. So that'll be really interesting. But as far as like identity and expression on these, well, in these spaces, I mean, I long have since learned not to predict anything when it comes to the internet, really. But it's only exciting. I mean, this breaking down of barriers between physical locations can only really generate good outcomes, in my opinion. And we can only like see what happens. It's such a wonderful opportunity that we really don't get to have anywhere else in any other environment. So I'm very excited about it, honestly.
Well, I'd love to collaborate more. Absolutely. And I think we're cooking things up for this year. So absolutely, really, really interesting conversation to be had about censorship, about identity, about self-expression within 3D spaces. Patty, bringing you in here in terms of where you see this going, and with virtual worlds, fashion, what would be your predictions going forward? No?
Sorry, thank you. No. I think things are going to continue. I mean, obviously to evolve at breakneck pace, which is what's so exciting about technology. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff going on in the world at the moment. And it's going to become more and more immersive, I think, which would be great. I mean, COVID obviously was an extraordinary time. I mean, it's the first time anyone, of these generations experienced something like that. Obviously, there'd been, smaller iterations of it in Asia and stuff, but something that affected the entire world. And we saw this incredible acceleration of e-commerce, right? Like huge spikes, because people were barred from entering physical stores, but they still wanted to shop. So therefore, stores became dark. They became, fulfillment centers for, and huge spike. I mean, that's dropped off a bit. And some, there's a lot of talk about how retailers can kind of claw that back. At the same time, with Fashion Week, physical Fashion Week shut, we saw the brands becoming incredible digital storytellers. I mean, we saw them, because they had no Fashion Week to show their collection. So, that's where we saw Balenciaga doing incredible things. All of them, really. I mean, they were doing these amazing videos and things. And look, what I think would be really interesting is, I just actually went to Moncler's show in Courchevel. Now, Moncler is a fascinating brand, obviously technical performance ski wear, meets luxury fashion, and they do these incredible spectacles. And this one was in Courchevel in the French Alps. And the show producer is a company called Villa Eugénie, and, one of the best in the world. I mean, and these kind of, I guess, world builders for fashion for a 20-minute show do the most extraordinary productions. And I mean, I think it would be amazing to see some collaboration between you guys and some of those guys. And I mean, I know there has been some, but I have a question for you, actually, if we've got time. How have you guys seen, this is a couple of years in now, how have you seen Metaverse Fashion Week evolve? What have been the biggest changes or biggest evolutions?
Oh, Kim, do you want to take this or both?
Yeah, I think we both can, because obviously from your perspective, from producing it and the people that we get collaborating with, I think I really love the community aspect. I think the first few were very big brand heavy, and being able to, Beta had really good ideas this year with having these community runways, different designers have come in and really showed off their work, being Decentraland first designers, many of whom are all self-taught. And I think that's been super important. From a marketing perspective, there's still so much interest in digital collectibles, digital fashion, identity and self-expression that, I mean, I think yesterday we had like 55,000 people come to the site to look at more about Metaverse Fashion Week. So there's interest out there, and it's just making sure people know how to find it, where to go, and how to create. But from a production standpoint, Bae, what would you say?
Blake and I had this conversation because it was the sense of, in the hype cycle, so in 2021, 2020, we had the big brands kind of move in terms of press releases. So it's like they wanted to do a press release about the metaverse. They paid a design studio to make an installation for them, but didn't really know how to engage with the community, didn't know how to have a conversation within virtual worlds, didn't really know how to activate the space. And what we've seen are digital native brands for Gen Z coming out of that and actually knowing that this is something they want to do and being very engaged. So we have some amazing panels tomorrow with people like Aren't Real, a game native fashion brand by a young designer. I can't remember, hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram, really kind of booming in terms of Gen Z engagement. That for them isn't a conversation anymore. It's of course, we're part of this. There's no definition between a physical brand and a digital brand. And I see really innovative brands like Free the Youth out of Ghana. That was a completely instant yes conversation as well with these kind of brands that are really innovating across geographies, having something to say. And I think this echoes to Emma's work. Like Free the Youth is about sharing African creativity across the world. So for them, it's like, absolutely, this is another communication platform that we can share this message. For SVD Denim, this is another communication platform that we can talk about the things that we want to say to 160 different countries that Decentraland reaches. So for us, for this edition of Fashion Week, it was really important to talk and collaborate with those brands that got it and wanted to use this for conversation, for community, all these things that everyone here on this panel has been mentioning as these really important considerations for working in virtual worlds. So for me as a producer, it's really interesting to hear those themes being talked about this evening as well. The larger brands seem to be in a watch and wait mode right now, particularly around Web3. But all of us know about this disruption cycle, that these incumbents have these incredible innovators, disruptors coming through kind of out of nowhere really, but they're getting huge reach on the socials and engagement in terms of the younger generation. That's the kind of pivot point that we're in right now.
Yeah, and
good on you.
Oh, go ahead.
Go on. I was going to say, good on you for planting a flag, the Metaverse Fashion Week flag in the metaverse. You know, I mean, you've established it, and now it's just build on it, right?
Totally. And I think what's been really cool to see is that I think these more digital native brands, like one of these is going to become like very mainstream. It's going to happen and they're going to be digital first, and then they'll think about the physical. And so I'm really excited to see what that impact is on the fashion world as a whole.
This has been fascinating. I could continue this for at least another hour. I've been saying this out in each panel that I feel like we have a whole dissertation that could be written right now in virtual worlds. It feels like such a melting pot of ideas and creativity. I can't think of a better space to be in right now. So a massive, massive thank you to all of our jurors for the banners we wear. It's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege to work with you all on this project. I hope that you'll come back with us again next year. In the meantime, we have the whole of Metaverse Fashion Week ahead of us. We are on until Saturday. We have a program of 6 more live talks. We have 5 more interactive runways. We have 16 showrooms to explore, 26 wearables to make sure that you collect if you're in world with us. We were talking about identity across multiple fractured existences. Check out the installations built by community members, Storm and Kanzi. There's an incredible one called Entangled Cube by Kanzi, in which your avatar gets replicated around you in a virtual space. Just dive in, enjoy, kind of push the boundaries of what's possible with your avatar right now. And yes, I will see you in the party zone for our opening night party with the German DJ Mark Runway. He's played Berghain, he's played Boiler House, he's playing Metaverse Fashion Week this evening, day, wherever you are. So huge thank you to all of our jurors. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you're going to enjoy the rest of Metaverse Fashion Week 2025.
Thank you.
Thank you.